Hey folks, it's Stefan, back again with another episode of The Gamer's Companion to Music. Today we're firing up the Super NES and taking a look and a listen to the wonderful music of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. The game has music that is widely regarded as some of the best video gaming has to offer. The themes are memorable, the sound's unique, and the feeling the music creates is second to none. Let's join Diddy and Dixie on their quest and hear what the music is all about. DKC2 was one of the best-selling games in the Super NES. It was the successor to Donkey Kong Country, and a third game in the series was made later. The game was praised for its graphics and gameplay, and having played it for the first time in preparation for this video, I can see why. Don't you hate, I never had a Super NES growing up. The game is hard and I struggled mightily through it, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. The music was composed by English composer David Wise. This game is his most widely known score by far. He's worked on plenty of other games in the series, but if you check any top 50 video game music lists, Stickerbrush Symphony finds itself towards the top of any of them. The overarching theme of the soundtrack to me is instrumental diversity. There's so many different types of instruments and rhythms that are used throughout the score that really makes each tune sound so unique. For example, the song Welcome to Crocodile Isle plays while you're selecting a stage. You've got the melody and accompaniment completely changing instruments about halfway through. Generally speaking, each of the different level themes are tied to the style of the level itself. If Diddy is on a pirate ship, a specific song will play, and if he's in the brambles, another one will play. The level styles aren't necessarily tied to the specific worlds they're in all the time. In fact, the music isn't meant to match the name of the levels, necessarily. According to Wise at his panel at MagFest this year, he wasn't even aware of the name of Stickerbrush Symphony. During the development process, he'd write the music for a specific style of level. Maybe this one would be water, maybe this one would be lava. And the names came later in development. A few of the level themes start out in a really cool way. Clomp's Romp and Lib Jig don't start out with music at all. They start out with ambiance built into the music before the actual themes kick in. Here's the opening of Clomp's Romp. It creates more of a sense of immersion in the level before the music comes in and adds a layer onto it. This isn't something that happens very often. Here's the other example, called Lib Jig. There's a few level types that I really hated in terms of gameplay, yet the music was so good that it helped wipe the bad memories of dying endlessly or falling down the mines forever. Mining Melancholy is a really cool rhythmic song that takes advantage of the wide array of things you could do with the Super NES. The rhythmic backbone of the song is created by combinations of mine-style sounds. Sounds like something out of the show Stomp, people just hitting things with everyday items and tools to create really cool music. The other style of level I don't much like to play is anything with a damn minecart. I struggle mightily in these levels. The music in these levels is called Disco Train, and it really does feel like it's straight out of the 80s. The trance-style synths are there, just kind of pulsing you forward more and more, and the layers build on top throughout. It uses a type of effect called a flanger. They had to kind of fake the effect due to the limitations of the SNES, but basically it's taking a sound and gradually changing the shape of the wave back and forth without really changing the pitch. That's the easiest way I can explain it without getting too technical. Here's what I mean from Disco Train. And now here's the rest of the song. So let's talk about Stickerbrush Symphony. It's the whole reason you're here, right? As I mentioned before, this is widely regarded as one of the best single tracks in video game music all time. I have some theories as to why this might be. Firstly, I mentioned that the naming process took place after Wise wrote the music, and he wasn't involved. I think the story goes that this was supposed to be music for a series of water levels that never happened, so the music was repurposed to fit the ever-challenging Bramble-style levels. When I first heard the song, I thought it had a very calming and relaxing feeling to it. But top 5 of all time? Really? Then I played the levels, and I think I understand. So to the casual player, those levels are very difficult, and you spend a lot of time in them. The more time you spend in the level, the more you hear the music. It's so serene and calming, and it kind of grounds your emotions while you traverse that level of difficulty. It's an example of a piece of music that, to me, the context of it means everything. It just somehow fits perfectly in those moments. I'm not sure if the actual music itself would warrant the merit it gets if it had just appeared not connected to this game, but the job of a composer is to fit the moment, and this might just be the best example of that in video game music. It hits most people right in those nostalgic feels. The actual song is pretty serene. It starts out with a very nice, almost water droplet style repeating phrase with chords that fade in and out behind it. It's a little while before the melody comes in, and the instrument choices are wonderful. We've got a piano sounding lead in, and then an echoed melody comes in and does a call and response with itself. The response sounds a lot like a Harmon mute trumpet. I play the trumpet, so I'm going to show you what that sounds like compared to Stickerbrush Symphony. Now listen to Stickerbrush Symphony in full, and hopefully you hear what everyone else hears in this music, and brings you back in full force to your childhood or younger years playing this game. There's a few more cool things I want to hit. Snakey's Shanty is amazing. It's a reorchestration of Gangplank Galleon from Donkey Kong Country 1. You get a cool sense of being on a ship, and I love it. There's also something interesting when you finish a level. The end of level music changes depending on how you hit the goal and whether you're Diddy or Dixie. It also changes slightly depending on the stage. Diddy's stage clear sounds like this. And now here's Dixie's. To give you an idea of how it changes ever so slightly, I'm going to play for you a couple of other Dixie's stage clear themes as well. It also varies depending on which Kong you are when you die. It's kind of crazy that there's so many small, specific tracks, but it all really adds a lot if you're paying attention to it. There's music in the game for each specific character you meet on the overworld map too, like Funky and Cranky, and all of the bonus levels have their own themes, some even taken from Donkey Kong Country 1. There's one theme in the game that I don't have the game footage from, but it's the level called Haunted Chase. It's pretty much an arrangement of the classical piece by Modest Mussorgsky called Night on Bald Mountain. Here's the in-game compared to the actual piece. Now, I'd shun myself if I didn't mention the classical music reference here. The last bit of music I want to hit is the music of the Crocs. In the story, you'll be visiting Crocodile Isle, so the music for the overworld represents the enemy, pretty much. Here's the overworld music again, and listen to the melody. Now listen to the title screen music called K. Rool Returns. Guess what? Both of those melodies make their way back in the bossa nova music. It's one after the other. Have a listen. Pretty cool, right? You also hear the K. Rool Returns music every time you have to pay Clubba throughout the game. It pretty much unifies all of the major enemies under one musical idea, so that when you hear it, you know you're fighting something important. Donkey Kong Country 2 is a pivotal game in the history of video game music. There's plenty more incredible music not only in this game, but in the first and third installments as well, not to mention the Wii games. David Wise created a wonderfully interesting and diverse soundtrack that has stood up to the test of time amid a myriad of amazing soundtracks in gaming. That'll wrap it up for this episode of The Gamer's Companion to Music. I'm so glad to share it with you, and if you like it, share the video with others. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Want some more Gamers Companion to Music? Check out the playlist here and check back every Friday for new videos on the ESVLB Gaming channel.